Being able to use references correctly is probably one of the best tips that I have learned so far in this process of learning the art of mixing. In this video, I want to share with you one trick that has completely blown my mind when it comes to referencing and that I always use in every mix. This is Joana from Input Studio. Welcome to another video. I personally find it difficult at times, especially because I don't necessarily have got the best acoustic treatment at home or the best pair of headphones, to know if my song has got too much bass, too little bass, if my mix is balanced, if my mix is muddy, if my kick is well balanced, if my kick has got enough punch, and if my snare has got enough body. And I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you probably have got some of these questions too. Because I'm also trying to evolve in this art and trying to mix different genres, different artists. We all know that different songs have got different balances that are accepted, and so everything changes from song to song and from genre to genre, so that doesn't help as well. In order to adapt to this constant change in mixing material and this change in genres, this change in songs, it's very, very important that we reference songs to help us mix properly and that we choose the songs that we reference wisely. So to start with, I want to challenge you to compile a playlist that you can always refer to of songs from different genres, especially the genres that you mix, that have made some impact on you. Songs that you like, songs that the mix is absolutely wonderful and excels and always surprise you every time that you listen to those songs. And I want you to have that playlist ready every time that you mix a song and you know exactly what you're looking for. You can just grab that song and use it to reference. Use songs that make sense to you. Don't use a song because that pro mixer uses that song as well, or because that other pro mixer is always using Michael Jackson or Prince or other artists as reference. Use songs that make sense to you and songs that have an emotional impact on you as well. Because at the end of the day, using references isn't only about EQ, compression, and tonal balance. It's also about feeling and about dynamics in the song. And this is really important. So imagine that you have now compiled that playlist of songs and you have a session ready to start mixing. I want you to drag that reference into the session to the bottom, and I want you to mute that reference for now. I've got a session here on Reaper, and I'm just going to explain usually how I use references, and hopefully this will make sense to you guys, and this will also blow your mind like it did blow mine. So I've dragged this reference to the bottom. Let's say you have got different references and the artist you're mixing to has also given you a reference because they really like the overall tonal balance of that song. You can also drag that one, but if you have multiple references, I want you to label them differently. Let's say, for example, that I'm using this reference right here as my drums reference. I'm just going to write ref drums. And if I've got another song, for example, that I like the tonal balance, I'm going to write ref tone. And then another one that I really like the vocal, I'm going to write ref vocal. So it's really important you label them appropriately so that you never get lost on what the reference is actually doing for you in a specific session. It's easier to get lost if you don't do this in the beginning of a session. So for now, because I've said that this reference is for my drums, I'm going to drag it closer to the drums so that I can I'm just going to color it differently as well. I'm just going to pick for example, this color that stands out. Notice that I have added all of my tracks inside my mix bus just to make it easier for the purpose of this video. So just make sure that you don't put your reference song inside the mix bus, because obviously the processing we add here would be affecting that reference as well. So just bear that in mind. And so I am going to bring the mixer up. And because I have said that this reference is for my drums, I'm going to focus for now on my center drums. Okay? So the first thing that I want you to do is go to your master track and you're going to add an EQ. I really like the EQ from Melda, the dynamic EQ, but I'm just going to use a free EQ that everyone can have access to, and that is the TDR Nova. It's free. You guys can use it. You can download it easily from their website. So the first thing that I want to do is, you can see that my reference track is muted. Every time that I need to engage this track is really simple. All you have to do is solo and then unsolo, and it will just switch from the reference track to your track. There's no need to use any third-party plugin like Metric AB, for example, from Plugin Alliance. Is really cool plugin, but it's really expensive. And this just does the same thing. As you move down the track, it's useful if you move the reference track closer to the area you're working, so that you're not always like back and forth in your mixer. So for now, what we're going to do with this EQ that we've added on the master track is we're going to select different areas of the spectrum by engaging the high pass and the low pass filters. We're going to start with the sub frequencies. We can set the lower to 25, because lower than that we can't hear anyway, and even 25 we probably can't hear either. And I'm just going to make it a bigger slope, so I'm actually really selecting that particular area. And so I have set it up to the sub frequencies that go at roughly to 60 Hertz. And what I'm going to do is, now that I have roughly balanced the levels of my track, and that I have also matched the sound of the reference, this is really important. You don't want to be doing this with your mix on a completely different loudness level than the reference. It's important they are matched, and you can adjust that just by simply either adjusting the gain or the volume. I have adjusted the volume in this case. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to my kicks, which are these two kicks that I have balanced. And I'm then going to switch from the kicks to my reference track. I'm actually going to do just one thing to make it easier to solo the kicks. I'm going to create kicks, and I'm going to drag both. And then, because we're also going to do the snare, I'm going to create a track for the snares, drag the snares inside. So I just have to solo one track at the time. So let's solo our kicks for now. Let's make sure that we select an area of the track that we matched with the reference as well. In this case, I've selected the chorus. And whenever I unsolo the reference, I know that the chorus is also playing. And that's important, that you select a part of the song that is matching with your song as well. Let's listen to our kick. Let's make sure that is on repeat, and it is. And let's listen to it in this area. What do we have from our kick? And then we'll compare with the reference. Now, I think we can see that on my kick, there's a lot more sub frequencies than there is on the song that we're referencing. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add another instance of the TDR Nova, since we're working with that one. And we know that whatever frequency we're trying to boost or cut must be located either on the peripheral of these cuts or within these cuts. So I'm going to go at around this area. I'm going to try to find that frequency that we want to cut, and then I'm going to lower it. Okay, there's still more sub-frequency content on my kick, but I actually like it, so I'm not going to drop it more than this, okay? You guys can use the reference tracks as references, and that's all they are. It doesn't mean that you have to necessarily copy everything from them. So now we're going to move up to the lower low frequencies, and we're going to do a high pass at 60 and a low pass at 250. Let's hear our kick and how that sounds. Okay, I think we can hear that our kick has got a bit too much again, so let's find it and let's try to cut it. I'm just going to do a quick bypass just to make sure that I'm actually not having my kick way higher than on the song, because I keep hearing a bit more of those frequencies, and it may be that my kick is actually a bit higher in level, and so we're doing unnecessary moves. Yeah, actually, the song as reference actually has got a bit less kick. I don't necessarily like the kick that low, but that could be one of the reasons why we're hearing a bit more of those frequencies in ours. So now let's just engage the plugin again, and let's compare the kicks again before we move any further. I think it's more balanced. I like my kick a bit better. Let's keep it that way, and let's move higher up to see what else we can change. And now let's do the low mids, and let's go from 250 to around 500. I'm going to leave it as it is. I think it's pretty well balanced. You can barely hear it in this area, and you wouldn't hear it normally in this area. And so just going to leave it as that. Now we're going to move this to around 2K, and let's move this to around 500, and we have the low mids area. The mids area, sorry. And let's listen to our kick. I think it's pretty balanced as well. You can hear a bit of the click of the kick, and I trust that around this area we're going next, we're probably going to hear a bit more. Let's go from 2 to 5K to the high mids, and then we'll do the highs. I have got a bit more click on my kick. Obviously, for the purpose of this video, let's take a bit of that to try to match it. let's listen to the reference. I think on the reference is barely noticeable, but this is a very old song. I'm not entirely sure what kind of balance they did at the time, but the kick's not very prominent in that one. And I think I like it where it is right now. So we can listen to the highs, and then we'll move on to the snare. I like it where it is. Let's bypass the overall TTR Nova in our master bus, and let's listen to the reference briefly and then our kick. I'm happy where the kick is sitting. It has got a bit more body than the reference, I think, but it has got punch, it has got attack, and obviously we're starting the mix. There's a lot of mud still in the mix that we would tackle as we went down, but I'm really happy where the kick is sitting at the moment. So now all we have to do is we start the process all over again, and let's do that to around 60. Again, this could be 60, 61, 62, is not going to make a massive difference. It's just around that area. And let's do a TTR Nova let's add the VST, that one, in our snare. And now let's compare the snare and do the exact same thing. Engaging the plugin, obviously. There's not really anything on the sub frequencies on the snare, which is completely understandable. There normally wouldn't be. And now let's do the lows. Let's bring this to 250 and this to around 60. Okay, I have brought the level of the snare down a little bit because I could tell that I think the snare is probably going to be a bit higher. And if I brought it down too much, I could always boost as I go along in the other frequencies. So let's bring this up again to 500. Let's bring this up to around 250 and let's compare the low mids. I think this is where we see a bit of difference now. I think there is more around this area in the reference than there is in our track. So let's make this a bell. Let's go. We know that we are before 500 and above 250, so it has to be here somewhere. Let's listen. Before. I think it brings it up a little bit. We have to be careful around this area because there's a little resonance that is starting to come up that we can always fix after we have I just noticed I've got 2 here. Let me just delete that one. We can always bring it down with a further EQ, but now we're just kind of tone shaping, so let's keep it there. Let's bring it up to 2K, so from 550 or from 500, sorry, to around 2K. Again, I think there's a bit more in the reference. Let's find where that is. Yeah, I think it improves it. Comparing, obviously. Let's bring this up to 5K and this to 2. And now perhaps here I would lower this area a little bit. Let's turn this into a bell. I'm happy with that. Let's move this up to all the way up and this to 5. And this is where I think their snare is a bit brighter than mine. So let's try to fix that. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's bypass and listen to my drums in the context of the mix and the reference mix. I think I could have boosted the highs a bit more than I have, but we can always, this mixing is always a process of shaping and then fixing mistakes and then coming back and solving those mistakes as the song goes. And then basically what I would do is I would continue with this process because this was my reference for my drums. I would take this process all the way down to the hi-hats, to the overheads, to the toms, and then also to shape kind of the reverb, the room verb at around the whole drum kit. This has been kind of a revelation for me in the process of mixing because, as I have said, with poor monitoring and poor acoustics in my room, and especially for those of you guys who don't have budgets to be equipping your room with the best high-end monitors and acoustic treatment, this was a very useful trick that I try to do, especially when I'm using my headphones. And this always keeps things into perspective. Using references is no shame to anyone. After months and probably a lot of mixes, I am pretty sure that you're gonna know for sure where that oomph of the kick is, where the attack of the kick is, where that muddiness area is, and you won't even need the EQ anymore to just find it straight away. So more than a process of mixing, this is also an exercise. And until you're very confident with how and where to find those frequencies, I think this is the best tip that I can probably give you to take your mixes to the next level. And literally, you can then use the reference for your whole track. You can find another reference that you really, really like how the guitars are sounding, and then you just solo the guitars and you follow the same process. So this is really revealing, and that's why I have said that when I have seen this, it completely blew my mind. And I thought it can't be that simple, but actually it kind of is. If you're starting out, I think you shouldn't miss this tip and you should start implementing it straight away in your mixes. I hope today's video was interesting to you. I have been reading your comments and I will make sure that I try to upload as many videos as possible answering your questions. And I'm really thankful for you for watching my videos, and even more thankful for the positive feedback and the constant comments you have been giving me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.